Testing 1, 2. All right, we're live. What's going on, everybody? Donnie Rouse here for an unexpected post to the podcast. And just a quick tidbit, if you were watching this via Facebook, know that you could also tune in either on Spotify or Google Podcast by searching One Life Podcast with Donnie Rouse, or just One Life with Donnie Rouse. There you can download to your phone. This way you never miss a single episode. So without further ado, here we go. Hi guys, my name is Donnie Rouse, and you're listening to the podcast One Life. Sacred time. Everything in your life, everything worthwhile is going to require a commitment of your time. There's a quote that usually bothered me whenever I heard it because, as you know, just from this podcast, I believe in living the life you want to live now and not putting off the things that matter for in the long term, because nothing in life is guaranteed. No day is guaranteed. But the quote says this. It goes, you have to learn how to postpone instant gratification for long-term rewards. And what it means is that in order to build something worthwhile, you have to kind of forfeit those instant gratification things, such as maybe the many, many trips where it takes you time away from doing something that you love, or the watching the season, a season of Lord of the Rings or whatever it may be, that you'll spend hours a day watching, but you know that it's not adding anything to your life. It's only subtracting something from it. Yeah, you get pleasure in the moment, but in the long term, once that time is done, what have you got? So before we go any further, I want you to just kind of look in your life for those things. Like, where are you? What are you trying to build, first of all? That, first and foremost, that is the most important question you have to ask yourself, is what are you trying to build? And then the next question is, what is required of me in order to build this? In the example that I'm going to give, in the story I'm going to go into, it is a life of freedom where I can live in a country and really experience it, but not in the sense of like this trip where I go for a week and I come back. Like, I really want to immerse myself in that experience. Then when I think of, all right, well, what is required of that? There is quite a bit required. It requires me to build my business, to hire people, to build the website and everything so that it operates without me, but also to put thought into assets in terms of like maybe digital assets or things I want to teach other people that don't require me to immediately be in that location in my home country. I was at one of my college professor's office earlier today. We were discussing my website and the branding of One Life and how it related to Rouse Coffee. As we were talking about this, I was sharing her the vision I wanted. The coffee for me was about the moment. It's about taking that moment, the sacred time for yourself in your day for that cup of coffee. Because so many times we waste our time around meaningless things. We get wrapped up in what he or she is saying about our coworker, or what happened to your child, or what's hitting the news right now. And I'm not blaming to say that anything is wrong, but rather than just to be aware of where you're putting your focus. So as we were talking about this, I was telling her about what kind of life I wanted to live. And she goes, well, that sounds great. How can you build it? When she said that, I thought to myself of prior experiences when I thought of things that people say, like how I should build my business. Oh, you should. And then also I'm not going to place the blame on other people in suggesting it, but also where my efforts were going. I had never wanted to do wholesale coffee for my roasted beans, not just because the manpower of training, but it wasn't where I wanted to take my company, because I like to control the experience and I'd rather educate you, the consumer, versus the cafe where there's a lot of turnover and there's a greater likelihood of it not being served to satisfaction. But another thing was I wanted freedom. And as much as I would try to tell myself, all right, I should take on wholesale accounts, I would always hit this resistance. My body was trying to tell me something, and I wasn't listening. I wasn't allowing the message to come through. I would think about it, and then I'd maybe approach it another time, and then I would get hit with resistance again, and then it wouldn't go anywhere. When I thought about these moments, I was like, well, I mean, yeah, it's obvious. There's certain things that I don't want to do. There's certain things or ways I don't want to grow my company. So why am I resisting it? Why am I fighting it? What do you fight in your life? Maybe it's things that people tell you how you should do, or there's this prescribed method of how you should grow your business, or whatever it may be. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do it that way. You're being guided. Whenever you feel that resistance inside, it comes with a message. Listen to that message. So as I was thinking about how my gut was responding, and just kind of hit me, I'm like, well, obviously, yeah, there's resistance there because it's not aligned with the life I want to design for myself. Then other things like writing books on espresso came into mind, like where I could add a lot of value because I've spent my entire life studying espresso. And all these things that would give me the freedom to do it. But yet I wasn't putting my time there. I was caught up in the instant gratification. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. Like I'm booking trips. Like I'm going to Colombia on Monday for 5 days. I just was a little bit stressed out for my business. So I said, you know what? I need a break, which is good. You need to understand too, when your mind, your body is telling you, listen, I need to take some space, and give yourself that space. But I would look at the times where I would travel for months at a time. Like I would take a month off in the winter and then a month off in the spring. Oftentimes I would come back and I wouldn't even remember what business I was in. That was indulging in the instant gratification at the cost or at the expense of the long-term reward. So the solution, shorter trips more frequently. No, the solution is really to spend my time doing the correct things that are going to move the ball forward, that are going to create the life that I want. And it's funny how you forget something so basic. And it's a simple question that you could bring with you every single day. How does this move me forward to the life I want to create? How does this move me forward to the life I want to create? Literally beat that into your head and just keep asking it over and over. You may be surprised to find out what you're doing, it has nothing to do with the life you want to create or the life you want to live. In which case, congratulations, make the change. But likely, you might not be in that place where you literally hate your work or different areas of your life. It just may need a small tweak. And then just asking that question will allow you to say, all right, well, what change needs to happen in order to align me with the life that I want to create? Make those changes. It reminded me of an experience when I was in college. While the context is differently, the lesson is the same. And again, I've noticed this actually more present in my present life. So I would study when I was in college. Like I was sophomore year, I was near failing out. I got like academic probation, and then I did a 180. I was afraid of never making it into the business school, and at the time I wanted to be a stockbroker. So I was like, well, if I don't do that, my life is over. I locked myself in my room and I literally studied. I mean, at least 20 hours a week. I don't even remember. My friends say those were the absent years. Like I wasn't around. But yet, if I had succumbed to the peer pressure of saying, well, Donnie, why don't you come out? And I would have lost the long-term reward. Granted, I didn't go into finance, but everything had this synchronistic effect. Like, I mean, there's things I had experienced as a result of that because of the study. Like, like realizing that I didn't want to go into finance. And then that inspiring the trip to Rome, which transformed my business because of Cold Roman. Like, all these synchronicities happened. So what I wanted to point out in that story was that I had to literally put on the blinders and drown out all the other noise to focus on what I was that I wanted. And at that time, it was getting into finance, being a stockbroker, which required me to get really, really good grades in the school of business and my major of finance. Present day, There's times where I feel like I don't really want to go out. Maybe I want to preserve funds for something greater, an experience I want to have, or I know I should be doing something that will grow my business, that will grow my podcast, whatever it may be. But I feel peer pressure. I'm like, you know what? Oh, gosh, I should go over there. I feel what I do is I focus on what it is that I'm missing, which is the wrong question. I would focus on, like, oh, well, yeah, this person may feel bad. They've been asking me to go out for a while and I haven't gone. And I would give in. Have you ever done that? And how do you feel afterwards? I know for myself, I would feel like, I'm like, well, why did I even bother going out that night? I enjoyed it, but it would have been more worthwhile if I just stayed and focused on the thing that I wanted to work on. Again, short-term results, long-term gains. Instant gratification versus long-term gains. So I want to bring this back to your life. Because, again, time is sacred. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. Every second is a gift, and every second spent is one you'll never get back. So when we spend our time, we want to make sure that we're spending it in the way that gives us the most rewards for our time, the greatest return, kind of like with the money you have. If you could think of it as you have $100, right? All you have is $100. You're given a $100 bill, and depending on how you spend or invest it, you could literally lose it all to the point where you have nothing, or you could invest it so that you have an abundance somewhere down the road. Very much the same thing. How you spend your time or how you invest your time will determine what you get to enjoy later on in life. So let's rewind. What do you want? Like, what is the life that you want to design? Next, what is required in order to live the life? What do you have to do? What do you have to build? What do you have to start? Get familiar with that. And then third, we have to be conscious of where we're putting our time. Maybe a little bit of time accounting is called for, where you're literally taking a sheet of paper and you're writing down what you do every moment of the day, every time you change tasks. Where are you wasting time? Because when you get that time back and you invest it where you can get the most return, that's when you start to move the ball forward. And then lastly, how can you start to incorporate, how can you schedule the things that you need to get done and want to get done into your day? Again, it may help here to kind of paint that long-term. What is the long-term picture? That should be at the forefront of your mind. Like the first question I asked, what is it that you want to build? Why are you doing it in the first place? There are times when I wake up in the morning and like I literally wake up in a frenzy. I don't know if what's heads, what's tails. When I go about the day from that mindset, my day is literally, I don't even know what the day is. I was going to say shit because it's not, well, yeah, sometimes it is shit. When I sit down, when I wake up, and even when I get in that moment and I stop and say, okay, what is my purpose? What do I want to experience in life? Like I think about the excitement, the joy, the passion of traveling. I think of inspiring people to get out and live their own life, to see the world. I think of the moment of coffee, of getting people to stop, to take the time, the moment in their day for themselves that they rarely ever do. That starts to get exciting. All of a sudden now, all the tasks that follow have meaning behind it. Me sitting and spending hours on my website, doing something I find tedious, has meaning behind it. It reminds me of what I want. It reminds me of the long-term goal. And it sets me on that course of just continuing to march forward rather than to grab at all the shiny objects that are going to present themselves throughout my day. Your life. What is the life you want to design? What is needed in order to get you there? What are the time sucks? What are the things that distract you and pull you away? And it could be those shiny objects. And then lastly, how can you set yourself up in your day to just constantly be reminded of the grand vision of your life, of what you're working towards in the first place? A little question I'll add here is, what will the feeling be once you achieve that, once you have that? How will you feel? What else will be possible in your life? I promise if you dwell on these questions at the beginning of your day, you will see results faster than you could ever imagine. Guys, you got one life. Live it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can subscribe or ask a question or comment by visiting my website at www.donnierouse.com. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, your energy, and allowing me to just kind of be that little angel on your shoulder to remind you, you know what, there are important things that you need to put your time to, and it's your life that you get to spend it any way you choose. But that every single moment is a blessing. Just at the very least, even if you're not traveling and doing all these other things, just take the moment to just enjoy and appreciate the life that you have. God bless, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you again next week.